All right. Welcome to Outdated and Uneducated. I am at NFL Outdated, and you can find me on Twitter and wherever winning fantasy football is happening. And how's it
And
going?
I am Uneducated Takes, and you can find me at Twitter under that handle for some general nonsense. Feels good to be back. Feels good to be back after a show missed, but we're here on Thursday. Gonna talk a little bit about Monday, and then we're gonna move forward into the matchups. So
Right.
let's dive right in.
Yeah, it was a heck of a matchup with the Titans and the Bills
Mm.
on Monday, and going into it, the Bills were flying high, beating the Chiefs and all that, and on ESPN they just talked about how there's so many Bills fans there, and actually I just interviewed a Titans fan who was at the game,
Mm-hmm.
and he said that was bogus. There were plenty of Titans fans. It was just all the Bills fans were hanging out, which it's exciting to be a Bills fan, and Bills fans do tend to hang out around tables. So
Yeah, there you go. Unfortunately for the tables, I'm sure there were some. I saw one in the stands clutching his hat, very upset at the end of the broadcast. That's the only one I saw. Now, they come out in Tennessee for that squad for sure. And that was a hell of a game. Talk about Derrick Henry just deciding, right? Not a lot of players in the NFL have the ability, especially non-quarterbacks, have the ability to just decide we win today. Like he's just such a conundrum like that. You see him run, and you're like, oh, that's a big bruising running back. But then you see him run by safeties, and you're like, oh, that's a very fast running back too. And it's just every once in a while he reminds the world of who he is.
well, yeah, and every all these teams know that the ball is going to go to him, and
Mm-hmm.
yet I mean just his greatness, he's going to make something happen. And so I was talking with the Titans, fan and
Mm-hmm.
coach about about this, and he said one of his things, you can easily second guess what the Bills were doing, going for it at the end there, and whether it was him slipping or whatever. But what his thoughts were, and probably this, was, from the Bills as well. If they went into overtime, they did not want any part of trying to tackle Derrick Henry, and try to stop him, another, how many more minutes, right?
Yeah, that's one theory. For me, it's not. It's 100% slam, go for it every time, no question.
Really?
Because
Yeah.
it's a couple inches to win the game with Josh Allen, right? If you ever get in a chance where you have a couple inches to win the game, right? That's a gamble you take every time because it's over 50%, right? And so if it's a game that's really close and you need a touchdown to win, or you can maybe tie with a field goal. I'm making that decision every time. And I feel like it's pretty interesting because we saw both sides of that coin, right? We saw Tennessee go for it late in the third, down by 6, in field goal range, putting on their big boy pants and going for it, and then end up getting the touchdown, and they don't win the game if they don't make that decision. On the other hand, I mean, it's not you see the Bills unfortunately losing, but look what had to happen for that to happen. One, you have Josh Allen, who is, I forget exactly what the numbers are, but it's above 95% on getting those, right? Just alone in a vacuum. And so you had him slipping. So that's like unfortunate mistake. And you had a professional defensive tackle on the other side that just made an incredible play, right? Got immediate pressure and just shut that down. Like instantaneously inside the backfield, made a perfect play. Sometimes professional athletes make perfect plays. We saw the Seahawks losing the Super Bowl. I was fine with that call too. It's just like, oh my God, someone just made a 1 in 1,000 play, right? It's a professional athlete. It happens.
Mhm.
But if it's me, I liked them going for it. If it were my choice, I mean, it's hard to say when your job's actually on the line, right? But on the couch, I say go for it every single time in that situation.
Now, does it matter if it's on the at home or on the road?
Not for an inch. Not for less than a yard. Not for less than a yard to win the game. It's honestly there's very like you could maybe come up with a circumstance, right? But it's not close for me personally. Like less than a yard to win a game with a QB who's big, strong, good at sneaking, has a track record of sneaking, especially maybe with Kirk Cousins, who's like a hilariously bad QB sneaker. If you ever watch that, he kind of tries to. Never mind. Maybe with Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't. But yeah, with Josh Allen, with a good offensive line, every time. I don't know if it's a QB sneak every time, but I mean that's obviously the highest percentage play when it's that short distance. But less than a yard to win the game, I think should be automatic, and I think in a couple of years, it will be automatic, and it'll be one of those things we look back like we look at interceptions now from the 80s and 90s, like, oh my god, those guys are a lot. Or like, wow, they really just threw the ball away, didn't they? We'll look back at it and laugh that people kicked field goals in that situation. I think is where it's going to go in the next 10 years.
That's an interesting take, and that has to be an educated take right there. I like that one.
Yeah. Well, my team, not the team I'm repping. I'm repping the Timberwolves today after a huge win, first game of the season, of course.
Anthony Edwards, right?
Yeah. What's it?
Anthony Edwards, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a Wiggins jersey, unfortunately, but yeah. Oh my goodness, what a. Oh, I could talk about that for a long time. Calling for a timeout at the other coach after sinking the three. Yeah, you love to see it. No, but the team I root for on the football field would not have gone for that. I'm fairly certain. Actually, you know what? That's not true. They went for it last year and they lost the game too because of it. They went for it against Seattle. Needed less than a yard. The running back made a bad read, and you lose the game. But it's hard for me. I mean, like, in this situation, it's easy for me because it's, like, less than a yard to win the game, like I said. But even inside the 5, kicking a field goal from inside the 5 feels like not playing for the win, right? And when you're playing against a team that's really playing well right now, Tennessee, at least in that game, they're coming alive. They got the same record now, Tennessee and Buffalo. When you're playing against an offense that you're going to need to beat, you're playing against a team you need to beat. You know, you're not playing the Lions or the Jets or something where you can just kind of coast a little bit. I feel like you got to play to win. And even against those lesser teams that hang around, like, I just feel like playing to win the game is a more consistent overall strategy, right? Than playing to keep it close or playing to protect like the lead, right? Or playing for the tie, right? Playing not to lose. That leads to a 500 record is what I feel like. And no one wants a 500 record in the NFL. You want to make the playoffs. You want to make noise. You just got to play to win.
Well, and the players like that too. I mean, you kind of get behind, and with Josh Allen, and I'm sure he was definitely lobbying to do that. I mean, you have that confidence. You know, these players are at the top of their game. They have that confidence that they can do that. And like even when I played, go to high school football, our coaches used to say, if you can't get 3 yards on a run, you don't deserve to be out there.
Yeah, it's the same way. And when I used to, in my glory days of playing hockey, if you're trying to protect a 1-goal lead and you're playing not to lose, guess what's going to happen, right? It's going to end up a tie game. So yeah, I like the call. I like the call every single time, and I like Vrabel going for it as well. I think when you're either, I guess I'll end it like this: if you're inside the 5 or it's a 50+ yard field goal, so you're at like the 30, 35 or inside the 5. I feel like those are almost, depending on less than 5 yards, say 5 or less yards, right? 5 or less yards, and on the 30 or inside the 5. I feel like those are almost automatic for me. Like, just go for it, right? Because, like, the field goal's like 70%, and then it's only 3 points. Depends on the situation there a little bit. But I feel like if it's a tough field goal or inside the 5, just go for it.
So, speaking of go for it, we have two teams, the Chiefs and the Titans, and this is really a big game for both teams. The Chiefs, and if they don't win, they're who knows where their season's going to go. And the Titans, they could really, start to kind of assert themselves, in not only the division, but, in the playoffs, going forward. And, with a big win, the Bills came off a big win, and, maybe that affected them. The Titans come up a bit off a big win. Does that affect them versus the Chiefs?
Yeah, it could be a letdown game for sure. I don't know how much I believe in them. I've seen them. I've seen them happen before. But yeah, this is not a must win for the Titans, but you really want to win this one. That really solidifies it, right? And if you go into this, right, if you look back and say we went 50-50 with the Chiefs, with the two best teams in the AFC, right? Or two of the best teams in the AFC, you're okay with that. Like, that's not the end of the world. You're going to lose to good teams sometimes. But this is a winnable game. I feel like this is a gettable game for the Titans. I mean, I think the Chiefs are favorite. Because the the issues that the Titans are having in their secondary, I feel like it's going to be a massive shootout. I don't see the Chiefs stopping Derrick Henry. I don't see the Chiefs, and we haven't talked at all about Julio Jones and AJ Brown, who had massive games. Julio Jones, one of the better catches I've ever seen, off the Heezy diving catch. Right, that is not getting stopped by what the Chiefs have to offer. I feel like that tandem of skill receivers with a good quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. And on the flip side, with that beat up secondary and not a very great pass rush from Tennessee, like it's fine, right? No one's calling home about it though. I feel like Patrick Mahomes is going to have his way to a certain degree as well, and I see, as so many Chiefs games end up being, I see a pretty decent shootout here.
Well, yeah, and going back to AJ Brown and Julio, it'll be interesting to see. We got a little
Yeah,
guest
I know
here.
he was whining. He
Oh
needs to
yeah.
be included.
Oh yeah.
He's
Got to be
be too.
included. I love the love the sweatshirt there. Love it. So kind of looking at them, and AJ Brown, he did come out last week and he said that his comment was that his snaps will be limited until like week 10. I mean, so that was kind of an interesting comment.
Yeah.
So that, and then Julio Jones, he went out. He's got a hurt hammy. So
Oh, has he got the hamster? Did the hammy get tweaked
yeah,
again?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that could be an issue.
and that's and I guess I have a little bit of head start talking to a
Yeah.
Titans guy.
Oh yeah.
But and they're hurting for other wide receivers. It'll be interesting to see, with this just horrible Chiefs defense. Do they make some no name wide receiver for the Titans a star this week?
It could be for sure, because I would imagine, and I think AJ Brown's going to play, and Julio might not. Is that where we're at right now?
That's kind of what.
But on a snap count, yeah. So I would imagine that the Chiefs would sell it to stop the run as best as they can. And yeah, I don't see. Who's their wide receiver 3? I don't even know.
Well, yeah, and I believe Chester Rogers is hurt.
Chester
too. Yeah,
Rogers. Okay,
there's
so
so many.
he can play a little. I wish Khalif Raymond was still on this team, because this would be a big Khalif Raymond game. I think if we had him out here.
Yeah, there's so many injuries in
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty wild.
And so it'll be interesting. But yeah, this definitely. I mean, fantasy wise, you're starting Derrick Henry all the time, but he's gonna have a big game. I see that coming, and
Yeah, he
them
could.
really needing that to really control the clock and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. I think that would be that's huge.
Yeah, because the Titans are probably going to start Chris Boyd, unfortunately, in corner. And if y'all don't remember Chris Boyd, he wasn't good enough for even the Vikings' putrid secondary in 2020. He's also the one who dove out of the way of Pollard to give up a game-winning touchdown. So he is. I'm surprised he's still in the NFL, to be honest. And I guess buried on the Titans is what he deserves. But yeah, if they gotta play, they're a little beat up in the secondary, like that. That just seems like this has Patrick Mahomes like statement game written all over it right now. So of course you're firing up everybody on the Chiefs, and I guess you have to keep an eye on Julio. AJ Brown's probably worth playing either way, to be honest, depending on what your situation is, especially in like standard and half point leagues. But
Josh Reynolds was the other
Reynolds.
Yeah, but he was a coach's decision inactive, so he may get the start. It's do the Tennessee Titans have enough? And the Bills, they had enough. Bills, they had enough against the Bills. And but is just what the Bills didn't do, or what the Titans did, and talking to the Titans fan, it was, obviously more positive towards the Titans. It was what the Titans did, right?
Yeah, no, the Titans got the juice. I agree with that, right? I don't think that's a good defense that they beat at home, sure, but that was a statement game, and that was juice. Derrick Henry's got the juice. Tannehill's got the juice to take him over. It's not a good defense, right? It's just
Right.
It's just not. Like, there's gonna be points to be had here. And I suppose we should do a little on-air production meeting. We should, if you still have the notes from our predictions last week.
Oh,
But that maybe we'll do that at the end of the show. Once we
yeah,
give
yeah.
ourselves a chance here.
That's when you find that. But yeah,
What are you thinking for the spread? I see both teams scoring 30 points
so
personally.
yeah, so I had the Chiefs winning initially, and then talking to the Titans fan, you kind of think of, well, the Titans, they have, with that big win, and that was a win. They weren't at full strength, you know.
No, and no one
Um,
is right now. And this is when you have
right.
to. This is when you have to win when you're injured. This is when your players step up. Absolutely.
And he also talked about how they're definitely missing, Arthur Smith, right? The Titans
Yeah.
are,
Yeah,
and
they
so they're,
seem to be. Yeah, same,
yep.
like we talked about this before the season. Same system doesn't mean same results. Because the feel of play calling.
So this will be interesting. Here's a note here. Tennessee has really limited Titans, the tight ends positions. So Kelsey, they've allowed the second fewest receptions to tight ends.
Interesting to the tight ends. That's surprising. Yeah. Um,
So
yeah.
Hill, I believe he hasn't really practiced much this week. But a lot of that's just kind of their managing whatever. Um, yeah, I see the Chiefs winning this 38-31.
38-31. I like that
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
I would do more. I'll go 35-31. I actually picked Tennessee in our pick'em.
Oh yeah.
Because just the percentages, right? So many people voted for Kansas City. You want to try to
Oh
pick up the
yeah.
points there. If it were 50-50 though, I would take Kansas City in this. Close matchup. Derrick Henry could take it over. Hard for a running back to consistently take over games throughout a season. Don't see it that often. Once every 5-6 years, even really, honestly. But Derrick Henry is one of the guys who can do it, right? He could take this game over and just not let Patrick Mahomes see the ball, right? And
Hmm.
so there's definitely a path for either team to win this game. But I agree. I think over 30. I'm going 35-31. Chiefs.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. So, kind of moving on to another big game and a surprising big game, I guess. Here, the Ravens versus Bengals. The Bengals, a surprising second place team here, I mean, who knew? I mean, actually, you did. We could kind of go back. You thought the Bengals, beating the
Yeah.
Vikings, that was a
Was it salty because they beat my team, or was it legitimate takes? We may never know. But I did say that win, that loss, might not look as bad in the rear view in a couple weeks, because it's a Bengals team that just kind of wins games, right?
yeah,
They just like find a way to win. Like they have no dominant pieces. Like
right.
name one dominant unit on their team. Maybe the safeties. They're not dominant. They're really
Mm.
good. Receivers maybe would be dominant if they were fully healthy. But they're out. They're out Higgins. Is it still out Higgins? They have been.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yep. And Jamar Chase has just been amazing.
incredible. Yeah, just a big play every game. It might end up being a better season than Jefferson's last year. He's certainly on pace for one. Hard to keep up. It just seems like a massive play every single game from week one too, not week 3 or 4. Once you get your feet wet, week one making massive plays down the field, and some little short catches too. Not bad. And I guess at this point would be a nice time to legislate, or a little too early, that first round selection between Chase and Sewell. As of right
Mm-hmm.
now, I have vindication for the Bengals. Sewell looks fine, sure, but what's he doing for that team? Chase is out here making big plays, winning games, right? For a team that's not supposed to be winning games. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd say vindication for the Bengals on selecting Jamar Chase to come receive passes from his best buddy.
Oh, absolutely, and that definitely helps as well. Having that security blanket, and
Mm-hmm.
those preseason drops are out of the way now, or at least no one's talking about them now
Well,
because
yeah, they're not
the
happening,
Vikings.
right? I mean, that was weird. Hey, that was the thing. Like, he was dropping everything that hit his hands, and everyone was like, why? And then he just stopped. Stopped dropping passes. And it was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, I guess it's fine. I really wish he didn't do that to me. I would have selected him in more leagues, but I guess that's my fault for recency bias. Right. Yeah, I do like this game. It's going to be a fun matchup for sure. I feel
you
like gonna be hard. So the Ravens just absolutely destroyed the Chargers, who are kind of like a better Bengals, kind of, right? They got the
Mm,
young quarterback, really good weapons, probably a better offensive line in LA, better defense, little better secondary, little better, maybe comparable secondary, but definitely better pass rush from the Chargers. Well, better peak pass rush. The Bengals have a very solid across the line pass rush. So I see. Not that that applies directly, because I think the Chargers' game plan was very poor, running Austin Eckler just into Calais Campbell over and over again, and then all of a sudden remembering that this is an aggressive defense and we can throw screens, but it's a second half, so it's kind of too late, and the screen game's not really catching you up. That's kind of like a clock control type of move right there.
mm-hmm.
So I thought that was backwards. I would have started with the screen game and then maybe aired it out a little bit more. But running Eckler between the tackles, what are you doing? The Ravens don't have that great of a pass rush. You made it look great with your game plan, but yeah, that was weird. So I don't see the Bengals repeating the mistakes that LA made last week in offensive game planning. So I see this game being closer. But I mean, my money's on Lamar until proven otherwise right now.
Right. Well, and you talked about trying to run against the Ravens. They have allowed, what is it, like 88 yards per game, yards per
That's
run.
really good.
Yeah, and so fantasy wise, it might be good to avoid Mixon, but maybe they try to get him, and I believe Samaje P Ryan is back this week, and
Okay.
Captain America, I believe,
Yeah, P
had a
Ryan.
well, no, the other Captain America, my guy that I have on Dynasty, Chris Evans.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
he
yes, yes.
really, he
He
really
really
is.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd start mixing. Honestly, it's not a. It's like they
You
are a
almost
really
have
good
to.
run defense, right? But
Yeah.
who you stashing right now that you're playing over Mixon? If you have two or three running backs that are legitimately better, I guess. But there's not a lot of good matchup for running backs this week. I've seen a couple polls on Twitter that are like, should I play Herbert against like, Tampa Bay? Or it's like, no, I don't really
No.
want to do that.
Right.
So it's like it's a as usual. We're in the bye weeks, and injuries for running backs are very common. So we are in the kind of running back desert era of the season, right? Where people are hurting for running backs, and they're looking for running backs, and they're desperately trying to pick up backups off the waiver wire, right? That are getting their chance. And so I'd say if you have Mixon, just plug him in. Don't worry about the matchup too much, unless you have just other options, 10-man league or something like that.
Well, speaking of worse options on the other side of the ball, the Ravens. What do you have? Like something called Devontae Freeman and something called Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, yeah, they got the
The
geriatric squad.
shell of them. The
And
Bengals.
Le'Veon Bell too, and they're getting and Murray, Tay Train.
And we're not sure if Murray's going to start or not, if
Hmm.
he's going to play. But the Bengals, they have been eighth against the run.
They're stout.
Uh,
They're
yeah,
stout.
and they've
Yeah,
been average 13th against pass. So that'll be interesting. I mean, it- with all of the running backs either injured or on bye, you don't really have a lot of options. Would you start a Devontae Freeman, or who out of that Ravens backfield do we start?
Bell, I guess chasing the touchdown. He got the red zone look last week, so I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of like the evener of like a terrible situation. If you're starting a Ravens running back, that's unfortunate this week. I think a lot of people will be though,
Mhm.
and probably a couple people starting a Ravens wide receiver, unfortunately too. Bateman's back, so Bateman's back in the lineup. Rookie wide receivers, you don't. I never start them until they prove to me that they're ready to start. I
Even
have
though
pick,
even though he's your Minnesota guy.
Oh, he's a Minnesota guy. I was super high on him, and look,
Yeah.
look what Tanner Morgan has done since Bateman has left, and it has fallen off a god dang cliff. So yeah, Bateman, hyped for him in general, but not going to
Mhm.
start him unless I have to. I think
Right.
I actually am starting him in one of my leagues because this is the bipocalypse week, right? Week 7 is the bad one this week. So I'm starting Bateman in one, unfortunately. You hold your nose, 3 wide receiver league, you start Bateman. Duvernay, would you start Duvernay? Do you think if you had to?
Yeah, and I don't know as much about him, but yeah, I mean, if you have to, if you got him on your roster, you almost have to. You know,
Yeah, I don't know much about him either because he doesn't play. Like, no one
but
knows much about him.
a lot of it has to do with the quarterback, right? And
Hmm.
the way Lamar is playing, um, it's really hard not to say he's the MVP. I know I just talked to the Titans guy, and he was really plugging Derrick Henry for MVP.
Not happening.
Right, not happening. But
Sorry, buddy. I'm
it,
sorry.
it's really possible that he hits 2,000 yards in two straight seasons, especially with this extra 17th game.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
crazy.
so he's amazing. You have Josh Allen, but really, I mean, Lamar Jackson has those signature wins, and they seem to, it's so
Hmm.
weird. Like
Hmm.
they're winning these close games. Like you go back and what did they just barely beat the Lions. The Lions, right?
Yeah, really weird.
And the Bengals blew out the Lions, right?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. That's just Lions doing Lions things, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Like they almost beat the Chiefs last year, but like doesn't matter, right? They almost beat the Vikings, but that's because the Vikings wanted to lose that day, or they were playing not to lose. By the way, that's a great example, tying it back into the beginning. The
Yeah.
Vikings almost lost to the Lions by playing not to lose instead of to win. But anyway, way off topic.
Well, no. So yeah, even talk about injuries. It really seems like Lamar has overcome all these injuries, and he's
Hmm.
still at the top of his game. I mean, and he got another one on the
He might be
offensive line.
above the top of his game that
Oh,
we've seen. Honestly, to
yeah.
be honest, yeah, go ahead. But he's playing as good as we've ever seen.
It'll be interesting with injuries. Ronnie Stanley's out now, his lineman. So that's going to be tough. But I just, you have these players that just seem to do it, when it matters. You look
Hmm.
at some of the players, and that's why, I think Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs get the benefit out because he has done it when it matters
Yeah.
over and over again. And Lamar's getting to that stage where he has done it, and he just kind of like gets to the end, and he wants the ball, and he can do that. Now, on the other side, you have Joe Burrow, who he's starting to get there, but
Hmm.
I don't know if he's at the level of Lamar yet.
No, of course not. No one trusts him yet. Joe Burrow has, well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm giving them the Bengals downer, right? When you think about the Bengals, you don't think happy thoughts.
Right, right.
Um, but I don't. Joe Burrow has not proven it to the extent at all that Lamar Jackson has. Really, not even that close. I want to see real quick here. I'm just
Well,
pulling them up real quick here. Let me see.
and
So
actually,
we're talking about the Bengals here, and we have wins over Minnesota, fine win, fine team. Chicago, fine win, fine team. Pittsburgh, okay. Jacksonville, fine. The Green Bay, which is their only loss.
oh no,
So
no,
the only
are you talking about the Bengals?
yeah, talking about the Bengals right now.
Oh no,
Sorry.
the Bears did beat the Bengals too. So the only
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah,
the only two
it,
losses. So basically they're 1-2 in the NFC North. So
I forgot about that. Yeah, they're one. Yeah, the NFC North. So they're getting beat by like the NFC North and not necessarily the best teams. You're gonna lose to the
right.
Packers sometimes,
Oh,
right? That's
absolutely.
fine. That's
Yeah.
gonna happen. And yeah, you're gonna beat up on Detroit, right? Everyone does that every once in a while. And I didn't see. So Joe Burrow went toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers. Very cool. Did
Mhm.
not win though, and when you're talking about MVPs, that matters a lot. Even if it's not your fault, right? And then other than that, he's had like pretty good wins over decent teams. Vikings and Minnesota, or the Minnesota and Chicago are going to be fighting to be 500 teams this year, right? So those aren't like signature wins, right? And you flip it over, and Lamar is beating the crap out of everyone's golden boy out in LA,
Mm,
right?
that
Or
was huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And it's just and putting the team on his back. It's not a great Colts team, but Lamar Jackson dragged the Ravens to that win.
He did.
Absolutely dragged them kicking and screaming to that win. I haven't watched, to be honest. I've watched some of the Bengals. Haven't studied them in depth, but I haven't seen anything where it's Joe Burrow just dragging like a poor team to, or like a team that's beat up, right? Or a team that's losing. Like he's not dragging them to wins. he has a good roster. He's got a good coach, and they're doing things right. He's got good skill position players. He's got a decent offensive line. He's got a decent defense, and he's winning games that they should win, right? And that's different though. That's the difference between a true MVP candidate and someone who's still waiting to break out, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, he did have a signature moment, but it was versus the Jaguars, so
Yeah.
on that Thursday game. And so that's not really, even close to on the par with Lamar.
No, who's already won an MVP, and the only thing Lamar has to prove to the league is he can do it in the playoffs at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, and that doesn't have anything to do with the MVP, right? Because we're already decided by then. But yeah, Lamar is very firmly in my top three. I have Lamar, Kyler, and Brady going into Week 7.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I can't.
And I mean, it's a stupid conversation to have, but it's still fun.
Right. Oh yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really hard. You can't really argue with that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, man, Brady's on. Oh, so people forget about Brady because he does it so often. He's on pace for 50 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
Oh yeah.
And, maybe he's passing the ball. There's two players that are passing the ball better than anyone in the league right now. It's Kirk Cousins and Tom Brady. They're not the best. Cousins not the best quarterback, but he's passing the ball, passing the piss out of it, and Brady's doing even better.
So I just have one question for you.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
I do. I'm really starting to hate that phrase. I'm like, come on, get a new catchphrase. You yelled it one time and people liked it, and then like you keep yelling it. You're yelling it in private. Like, find something new. Anyway, that's a very Kirk Cousins thing, right? Where he's like, yes, I got a response from the crowd, therefore I shall repeat this.
Merchandising.
Yeah, right. Oh, he doesn't need any more money.
So back to the Bengals. They are. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, they're. Even watching the Bears game, they are 22nd in the offense at 24.7 points per game. The Ravens are 4th in offense, and I just don't see the Bengals having enough to keep up with the Ravens here. And I initially was going to go 34-24 Ravens, but I just. I'm going to say it's actually going to be 34-17 Ravens.
So a little blowout, even a little bit. Yeah, and this would for this to be a win for the Bengals, it would either have to be one of those weird, funky division games, which do happen, right? Or it's going to be Burrow having his moment, right? Where we're talking about signature wins and MVP races. Burrow is capable of having those moments, and at least we think he's got the talent. We haven't seen it yet, but certainly capable of it from a talent perspective. I like this one a little closer. These AFC North divisional divisional matchups, right? I kind of like. I would go somewhere like 21-24 Ravens. Like, I feel like something in there. These games just get so nasty, right? And these aren't the biggest rivals in the division, right? They're kind of like, like the Bears and Lions might be, where it's like, oh yeah, sure. But these divisional games just tend to get a little nasty, especially in the AFC North. Oh wait.
Yeah.
AFC North. Okay.
Yeah.
North and East, because they're all in the Northeast. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that happening as well. And those are the I mean, you see, you kind of expect, a lot of offensive output, and then it's the opposite. Especially the way the Bengals defense is played. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's an uneducated guess.
Well, going on to our final game that we wanted to talk about, this is a really pivotal game for both teams, and just to see where their seasons are going to go with the Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers. Who do you got here? Who and what do you see as kind of the edge?
Oh man, this one's interesting, but it's kind of boring, right? And it's important. Like both these teams, 100 with the Titans accelerating in that division with the Colts. The Colts need a win to keep up with that, and they did a big win. 49ers might already be buried in the NFC West,
Right.
so it might honestly not even matter. And all of a sudden, we're talking about I don't want to say Shanahan on a hot seat, but Shanahan, I mean, for how brilliant he is in the play calling department, not producing wins, right?
Mhm.
For a majority of his seasons, right? In fact, a lot of losses, a lot of high draft picks
Mhm.
for the 49ers. I know that's injury prone and stuff like that. They have a lot of injuries on that roster, but that's everyone's got a lot. It's the NFL. It's a violent game. Yeah, the edge with Garoppolo coming back to play. I feel like San Francisco has the edge here. Where's this game at? Where's the game? I should have checked.
I believe it is in San
Oh,
Francisco.
it is. It is. No, I knew that. It's in my neck of the woods.
They're coming off the. I guess it's not in San Francisco. It's where are they officially?
Santa Clara. It's
Santa
right in the
Clara.
middle
Yeah.
of the like
Yep.
where all the tech hellscape is, where you see like, oh, there's that tech giant, oh, there's that tech giant, and then there's just like a stadium right in the middle. It's no Candlestick Park, that's for sure.
So if we had a big, tech budget here, this is where I would play the Superman theme, and have Return of Jimmy G and all that,
Save
and
us,
you
save
know,
us, Jimmy G. Yeah, with it being one interesting thing is there is in the forecast some serious rain predicted, like
okay,
century, like 100-year rainfall type of rain. And they do this every once in a while because it never rains here. So when it's like, oh, it might rain a lot, they really pump it up. But
right.
if it's as wet as it's supposed to be this weekend, I gotta say favor to the 49ers, even though Colts can run the ball as good as anybody except the 49ers probably, and at home. And I do like the 49ers if that rain keeps falling and Jimmy G doesn't have to throw the ball too much. God help us.
Well, yeah. So, looking at the defense, the 49ers, they're not really good at with the QB pressure. They're 24th in the league. By the numbers, they've got an average run defense. And but the defense and really their pass defense is a strength. So,
Yeah.
that might even be taken out with that weather that you're talking about as well.
Yeah, and if it's, I mean, I guess water is one thing. It's going to be a little chilly. It gets colder than everyone thinks in the Bay. Um, yeah, I maybe it won't even have that big of an impact, except for the fans who hopefully will be bringing their ponchos. But yeah, I don't know a team from the central time zone coming out west, just so the game's starting at 10 a.m. or 10:30 out here. It's a pretty even matchup, right? These are two teams that are pretty solid teams. Pretty disappointed in the 49ers defense, right? But that's what happens. Everyone, all of the fans out there should learn. Defense is unsustainable. And so with that in mind, I see a low scoring close game, to be honest. And the Colts are no pushovers, and Carson Wentz playing a little better. Maybe I could see the Colts slipping through this one. But
Well,
this is a must win for the 49ers at home against a team that is very beatable. And it's like, look, like I know you're banged up, but this is win or we're talking consequences almost.
and I believe this actually is the Sunday night game. I think.
Oh, so it's gonna be the nighttime.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
Prime
look,
time, Jimmy G, prime time. No, I'm taking the 49ers. I like Jimmy G to lead into a victory this week.
yeah, I really like the Colts. Just overall, I've kind of liked them since they had Harbaugh as a quarterback. The Bears were terrible, and so I kind of liked. I like them, but in my fantasy drafts I picked the Colts in the defense with how well they did last year. You just kind of thought they would do well, you know, and I just did I lose you? Are you still there?
I am still here. I just had my
Okay.
mic muted to look up
Okay.
the spread real quick, and it's
Perfect.
actually Niners -4,
Really? Okay.
which is that's a pretty convincing. I know it's at home for the Niners, but that
Right.
Vegas heavily favors the 49ers in this one more than I do for sure. I wouldn't put it at more than a field goal, but who am I? I'm not building casinos.
So yeah, I mean, with Jonathan Taylor, they've got if T.Y. Hilt comes back, Michael
Hmm.
Pittman, those are some key pieces. The question is, do I trust or do we trust Wentz? And it's
Not really.
always almost always been a no.
I don't trust
Um,
Jimmy G either, if we're being honest. I mean, I trust him more
yeah,
than Lance to win a football game today. So if it were Lance, depending on the weather, if it were, that would be a hell of a game. Lance running the ball in the rain. Well, that's okay. It's not happening. But with Jimmy G, I trust him more to be able to execute a winning strategy than I do Carson Wentz. And
Mhm.
I also trust, and two really good offensive play callers going head to head here. But I think edge to Shanahan in the play calling department, but edge over, and I'm blanking on his name, very famous coach, for the play caller for the Colts, Frank Reich.
Frank, yeah,
But
yeah.
Frank Reich, I trust on game decisions. Shanahan is too conservative when it comes to going in for fourth down and when to punt and when to kick field goals. Way too conservative. I like Frank Reich's choices there, so that kind of evens out in a way. But it's at home. I like Jimmy G as a quarterback who wins games despite being like a pretty mediocre overall talent. I look to Carson Wentz. When I look at him, I don't look at him winning big games anymore. He just doesn't seem to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I gone back and forth, and now like thinking about that rain, because some keys, with Brandon Ayuk, he only has was 15 targets in 5 games.
Hmm.
D- does that help him, or with the Wentz and Pittman Jr. I mean, does the rain, does that help him or not, or
Yeah, I mean, you're not excited about that matchup either
mm,
way. He'll throw it
mm-mm.
up to him, and Pittman has improved. I kind of pegged him as a one route guy because I was working off last year's knowledge. But after watching that Ravens game, he's more than that. He almost lost me a week in fantasy, in fact, thanks to my opponent having him. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
So he's a decent quarterback. I mean, a decent wide receiver. That's not the combo, right? Wentz to Pittman, it's like, but then again, Jimmy G, it's just kind of like a gross matchup,
It is,
you
yeah.
know? But I'm starting everyone, right? To be fair, I'm starting Ayuk, I'm starting Debo, probably
Oh,
not a
really?
49ers running back. Not if I don't have to. Who
Even
would
in
you,
the
if you had one 49ers running back, who you starting this week?
Oh, Mitchell, all the way.
Mitchell? Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I might even have him on a team.
I had a question. I had someone that was asking me about getting rid of Jeff Wilson. I'm like, honestly, I you know, don't want to touch the 49ers backfield, but Elijah Mitchell, he is really he's looked, the best out of the running backs. He's clearly the best one there, and this is a 6th round, draft pick rookie, and
Yeah.
who knows, what it'll look like next year. I think they're going to lean on look, thinking about the rain. I think they're going to lean on him heavily, and just talking about Brandon Ayuk as well. I see this being a big game for him, because
Hmm.
he's good with like getting the ball in space, and
Yep.
when you think of rainy games, you throw maybe like a short pass or a screen or whatever, and then
Hmm.
the offense they know where they're going, the defense has to kind of react,
Yeah.
and so I did want to go with the Colts in here, on this initially, but I am going to go with the Niners here, 24-20.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Niners as well. Let's go 21-17. They've been
Okay.
playing low scoring games
Yeah.
lately. The Niners have, and that's the kind when you run the ball and try to play defense and play conservatively, it tends to make games closer. And so I think this is going to be a low scoring, close game. So I guess I'll take the Vegas spread. I thought it was stupid, but I guess I just predicted it.
I do too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 21-17. Yeah. So what
It,
did we have last week? I want to know that. I forgot already.
well, yeah, let me go ahead and look here. So, um, Packers wise, I believe I said it was 24-13, and we're gonna have to keep kind of better tabs on this.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'll type it up right now.
All
Actually,
right,
I'm
type it
gonna
up.
put it in my
Okay,
notes.
so let's go ahead and we'll start this for next week. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So for the this last one for the Colts and Niners, I have the Niners winning 24-20. And then you
And then
also have the
and then
Niners
who?
winning
And then I have
17.
21-17.
So going back, then I had um, the Ravens winning 34-17. And you had it a little bit closer,
What did you said 31-17?
34-17.
It's 34.
And so you had a little bit closer because of being a division matchup, which I can definitely see. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's a narrative.
it is, it is, it is.
I'd have 24-21 or something like that, 28-24.
Yes.
28-24.
I'll have to go back and look. I think it was like 24-21.
That's what it was. No, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. No, that was I was kind of actually a bold prediction, to be honest. Ravens probably
Yeah.
don't score
Yeah.
that. Boy, I kind of shoot from the hip on these if my
Hey,
handle doesn't.
no, that's, and you just never know a given
Yeah,
Sunday.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and with the Titans Chiefs, I took the Chiefs 38-31 here. I definitely see the Chiefs, and the Chiefs really need this game, I think.
Yeah. And I said 35-31.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, there we go. Now we're official. Maybe I'll make a spreadsheet when I get to work tomorrow and I'm pretending to work.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, yeah, it's going to be another exciting week. It's interesting with so many teams on bye. You know, there's some good storylines. Some other ones, JJ Watt playing against Houston, things like that. I mean, any week there's football, it's exciting in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to another fun Sunday. We had a decent game tonight. I'm so busy on Thursdays usually. I don't even get a chance. Final score. Case Keenum let me down. Final score. Oh yeah, Denver almost came back. 17-14. Yeah.
They did.
There you
Yeah.
go. All right. Well, look forward to another set next week and another week of football. And well, thank you so much for another great episode.